There are places that are better left untouched, places where souls vanish, but never truly leave. What if you checked into a hotel and found a door that should never be opened? And what if, in the middle of the night, you heard knocking, coming from a room that shouldn't exist? Tonight, I'll tell you the story of Room 404, a room that has been sealed for 20 years. But tonight, someone is still inside. The full story, Room 404. I've always heard stories about haunted hotels, but I never believed in them until that night. I was on a business trip and had no choice but to stay at an old hotel on the outskirts of town. Every other hotel was fully booked. When I checked in, the receptionist looked at me with a stern expression and said, "I'll give you a room on the fourth floor, but do not enter room 404. It's closed." I nodded without thinking much about it. As I walked down the hallway, I noticed the room numbers: 401, 402, 403, 405. I stopped. There was no room 404. But between rooms 403 and 405, there was an old faded door, as if it hadn't been opened in years. A shiver ran down my spine, but I ignored it and entered my room. That night, I was woken by a faint knocking sound, coming from that door. At first, I thought I was imagining it, but the knocking continued, growing louder. I sat up in bed, trying to ignore it, but then I heard a whisper, "Help me!" My blood ran cold. Was someone inside? I got up slowly and stepped into the hallway. Everything was silent, but as I approached the door, I felt an eerie coldness seeping from underneath it. I placed my hand on the doorknob. It was ice cold. Then, without warning, a loud, piercing scream erupted from inside. I stumbled backward and ran toward the elevator. I pressed the button frantically, but it wouldn't move. Suddenly, I felt something behind me, a cold breath on my neck. I turned slowly and looked at my reflection in the hallway mirror, but there was someone else standing behind me. It was a pale woman with hollow eyes, her mouth open in a silent scream. The lights flickered, and in that split second, I felt something grab my shoulders, and then everything went black. I woke up suddenly in my room, the clock showing 3:33 a.m. I thought it was just a dream, until I looked at my arm and saw red scratches, as if someone had tried to pull me inside. The next morning, I checked out immediately. When I asked the receptionist about room 404, he looked at me blankly and said, "There is no room 404 here. It was sealed off 20 years ago after a woman went missing inside and was never found." Since that day, I have never doubted the existence of ghosts, because I felt them myself.